Well, today we're in Psalm chapter 80, Psalm chapter 82. And it's an interesting thing because God is calling upon the judges who are on the earth to judge righteously. And he's reminding them who's the judge of all mankind will be judging them. So in Psalm chapter 82, it's a very short psalm, God standeth in the congregation. And not only does he stand in the congregation, but he stands over the congregation because he is the supreme judge of all the earth. And he goes on to say he is the standing in the assembly of the mighty, men who are in high position and who are in power. And it's interesting because he talks about them as gods. That is, he judges the gods. And he uses that term because these men who are in power oftentimes determine the destiny of men's lives. And so he says in verse 2, and you can see here that he's referring in this context to judges who are corrupt and they do not judge righteously. And so he says, how long will you judge unjustly and accept persons? That means show partiality and show favoritism. And so these are the kind of judges who are corrupt. They can be bribed or threatened, and they just don't minister justice. And he talks about they accept the persons of the wicked because oftentimes the wicked or have the money to persuade the judge. And then in verse number 3, he calls upon them to defend the poor and the fatherless. And of course, oftentimes they have no one to represent them. And so they're at the mercy of the judge, and God is calling upon them to judge righteously, despite the fact that they're poor. And so you're not to show favoritism to the rich and powerful and disfavor these people who have no power, who are afflicted and in need. Now, notice in verse 4, he says, deliver the poor and the needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked, because in context again, the wicked are oppressing the poor and taking advantage of them simply because they could. In verse number 5, they know not, neither will they understand, they that walk in darkness, and the foundations of the earth, of course, are out of course. And what he's reminded these judges, though they might be powerful and held in some kind of esteem among the folks, they're standing really on shaky ground. That's why he says in verse number 6, ye are gods and all you are the children of the Most High. Now here's the point. It doesn't matter who you are. You're not exempt from judgment. It doesn't matter if you're in high position, you're in a place of power, if you're the King of England or the Queen or the President of the United States. All men, you see, are the children of God. And he says in verse number 7, ye shall die like all men, as ordinary men. And though you might be in a position, you see, that is above men, you're going to die like men, and you're just like everybody else. How about that? And then he goes on to say in verse 8, arise, O God, judge of the earth. Now that's a good reminder, especially to judges, and it's a good reminder to really all men, that God is the judge of all mankind. And just remember, all of us have to give an account before God, Paul said in 2 Corinthians 5, for we shall stand before the judgment seat of Christ, and therefore we ought to live righteous life and be just and treat people right and do the kind of things that are pleasing to the Lord. So in the psalm, it's really addressing judges and reminding them, and it's a great reminder, and it's a challenging reminder. There is one to whom is a supreme judge, in which all men must give account. And so that's the thought for today. And we'll be starting again next Monday. And I want to encourage you to be with us on the Lord's Day as we worship together the Lord and God of all the earth.